Addicts live trading stream. It's FOMC day. You guys know it's a tradition around here for us to cover. Before we get started, make sure to check out fxsummit2024.com, the #1 conference in the world for investors, traders, and entrepreneurs. Make sure to check the link in the bio. We'll see you there. Use promo code FOMC50 on any tickets today to get 50% off any tickets. Now let's get back to the streams. All right, so today, FOMC day, there's a lot going on in the world. So I'm going to have to split up these streams. I'm going to do a quick one now, probably 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then we'll get back on at 2 once the FOMC rate decision comes out. So we'll start with predictions. We'll get to some of the global events that are happening. The leader of Hamas was just assassinated in Iran. Why is that a big deal? Because if it happens inside of a foreign if a foreign actor, let's say Israel or whoever else sent the rockets, assassinated somebody in a foreign country without the permission of that country, very, very, very bad for stability in the region. So we're going to be talking about that. We'll be talking about the Israel and Lebanon kind of escalation that's happening on the border. Updates on Trump, and there was one other thing. Something pretty big just happened. Oh, Maduro, Venezuela. Stolen election. The DEA, $15 million ransom on Maduro's head. And the country is probably going to break out into some sort of revolution if this is not resolved quickly. So praying for Venezuela and hoping everything kind of mulls over smoothly. All right. Well, as smooth as that situation can be. All right, let's take a look at what's going on here. First, I want to check on the Bank of Japan decision from yesterday. There was a 25, wow. They actually raised interest rates yesterday at 11:57 p.m. So we have to check the yen crosses right now. Let's check the yen currency index first. Wow, of course. And we've been speaking about this. This is one of the biggest moves that we're going to see in the yen ever. I think that this is going to be a continued move. If they hold this policy rate, their interest rate, this is their version of the Fed funds. If they hold this and then actually continue to raise rates, even if it's 25 basis points, this bull run on the yen is going to continue through all these levels, and we're going to have a pretty clear recovery back to 8,500 here. So when we're looking at UJ, EJ, Euro JPY, anything that has a JPY crossed, those should be crashing expeditiously. So USD JPY, pretty nice sell-off here on the daily. Euro JPY, same thing. We hit the extensions, basically completed that whole move from entry up to TP5, and now we're having a massive retracement back to the bottom of this range. Let's check GBP JPY. Same deal. I'm trying to go long like as if the Bank of Japan wasn't going to raise rates. Wow. AUD JPY melting as well. CHF JPY. Yep, every single yen cross is on a sell model. That's good. Much needed. If you guys track the yen index, essentially when it hits areas of resistance and it starts to kind of consolidate, you'll see the same thing on those currency crosses. So if you're trying to time a reversal or an entry, you'll basically want to look at the yen index, wait for areas of high probability reversals, and then use that to sort of time the reversals on the crosses. Okay. This is a pretty big deal, y'all. This is a shift from a 5-year policy or more. Ever since I started trading, Bank of Japan has had negative rates compared to the rest of the world. They've had rates at 0. After COVID, when everyone else started raising, they could not afford to. And so this has been a thing where when is it going to break has been the question that I've been asking. And it looks like it finally broke. They had to do something or else the currency was about to just absolutely get debased. So this is really good stuff. This is an opportunity here that we can really take advantage of, continue to sell the yen. Okay, FOMC, Fed funds, the expectation is no rate cuts today. And so the big, the expectation is no rate cuts today. The big question is, are we going to get rate cuts in September? We checked the CME FedWatch tool the other day where basically it's the capital markets betting on Fed funds futures. So the future rate or the future value of the federal funds rate. And they're betting on an 88% chance of a rate cut in September, which is a big deal. Inflation's still up. And so Jerome Powell really doesn't have the luxury to start cutting. The only thing that's working in our favor is that if you look at the ECB and the Bank of Canada both starting their rate cutting cycles, that allows us room to start cutting because it's the whole game is relative. If one country is doing something very different than the rest, that's when you see problems with trade, imports, exports, currency, holdings, swap lines, all the things that really impact that economy. But if they're all moving around the same pace, and so the European countries and Canada, the ones that are hurting, started to cut first, and then we can kind of cut a little bit, 25 basis points or 50 basis points, it won't have the same effect as if we just cut it from right now and nobody else is cutting. And so it's all relative. As long as the central banks are kind of moving around the same pace, we won't see crazy market movements. But that's the big question for today. No interest rate cuts is my prediction. And I think he's going to hint at potential rate cuts in September. But I do think that he's going to remind the market of the data that's coming out and that we're not really in the clear yet to where we can start cutting. And yeah, pretty basic. Now, we talked about a rally in stocks. This is something that we've been talking about for about 2 weeks, ever since this retracement started, which was the 11th of July. So now it's the 31st. It's been actually about 3 weeks since we've been talking about this. We've been basically going long at each level. And so a lot of you guys on YouTube that are asking, why are you guys buying still? Like, why are you buying at this level or that level? We bought here. We bought here. We tried to buy here, but tried to buy here too. Those didn't work out. And then missed the absolute best buy opportunity. Right. And I know what happened here for the members. It's I went to this kind of low wick right here. I should have gone to the body. Not the body, but I should have gone to this support instead of the discount. Because if you do that, and this was a perfect 886 rejection, which means if we use targets, we just hit that upside target. Interesting. All right. Well, anyways, we talked about this. The trade idea that we had yesterday was at 18,500. So I said on the stream yesterday, if the market continues to drop, it'll come back and use this area as resistance and then go to the downside. Only issue is never hit the entry. And then this recovery happened during London session when I was asleep. So did not get a chance to take advantage of that move. Woke up this morning, got on the live stream with the Chart Addicts members, tried to find a trade, but the market hadn't started retracing yet. So I hopped off. I was a little frustrated at having missed this move. Took some time, came back, and now we're in the middle of this retracement cycle, which will probably hit right at the Fed meeting. Okay, so we're going to consolidate. And members, this is where you're going to learn the most about the models, because especially on news days, it is so textbook and everybody is so confused. But if you know what you're looking at, it's going to be so easy to spot. All right, right before the news, and then during the news, and then retail starts to offload these sells, and then institutions recover. Right, so don't get trapped in the consolidation, don't get trapped in the fake out, don't short momentum and start to chase momentum, and then don't capitulate. Right, don't chase on the way up. So many mistakes that can get made. Okay, the last one is don't over leverage. If you make money in any part of this the model, then don't give the money back. And so you could have this entire, you can have the entry prices and everything, the risk and reward, whatever. But if you do any of these mistakes, you could still walk away with a negative, correct? So that's what you got to watch out for, is having the patience and finding out what part of this thing is the highest probability? And the answer is right there. It's high probability, and it's the best trade from a risk to reward, from duration and drawdown, all of it. And so if you can be patient enough to wait for all this, then you can just capture this. And yes, you can miss trades. It happens. Happened to me. But I'd rather miss a trade than take a bunch of random trades and lose. Okay? I'm following a strict system. Good times in afternoon, Roy. Chart addicts. Let's go. Hey, Roy. Good evening. Good evening, Mike. Morpheus said waste of time. You a waste of time. What? See you later. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about Fed meeting later. Obviously, I just gave you guys the rundown. This is the trade we're watching, so very straightforward. But there's a lot of things happening around the world, and let's go basically one by one. The leader of Hamas was killed in Iran, of all places. All right. Israel Haniyeh was killed while he was attending the inauguration of the new Iranian president. So just as a recap, the former president was recently assassinated in a plane crash in Iran. And so, yeah, some's not really adding up. There are some Israeli newspapers that have taken credit for the attack, but Israel itself has not claimed full responsibility yet. And so that's still some contention there. If Israel did indeed send rockets across borders into Iran to kill a very high-profile leader and target, that's a problem. Okay? That's going to lead to an escalation of conflict, and we're really going to have to sit down at the table ASAP with both sides. Otherwise, this will escalate. Hamas leader killed. Let's see if there's any news reports or updates on who claimed the attack. All right, let's see what WAPO is saying. So Iran and Hamas have blamed Israel, and they've pledged to take revenge. Now, obviously, it's really easy to blame Israel, but there's a lot of reasons why. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but there are two segments of all of these different groups, like Hezbollah, Hamas, and all the rest. There's the political arm, and then there's the military arm. Now, the military arm has been, they're the ones who are on the ground and been embroiled in battle, and they don't really want to cease fire. They don't really want to start negotiations because they've been in the war. Why would we walk away now? The political leadership of some of these groups, they understand the end game here, and they're trying to walk it back as best as they can. But now there's some contention between the military arms and the political arms of some of these groups. So who killed them? Not sure. Very easy to blame Israel in this time, but Israel's, I mean, they've done this before a few times, but they've not been notoriously famous for sending rockets across into Iran. You got to cross so many countries to do that, and that is just basically asking for trouble. So hopefully we get an answer here and someone takes the responsibility. Okay, it was following a strike in Lebanon that Israel said killed senior Hezbollah military commander, which Hezbollah has released a statement, said that he is still alive and that he was not killed in that. Threatened to plunge an unstable region further into chaos. Okay, Israeli officials declined to comment on the death. Hamas's political chief in exile was visiting Tehran for inauguration of the newly elected Iranian president. Details of the killing remain unclear. Okay. The killing came hours after an Israeli airstrike in Beirut. So those are these are two independent things. Obviously, the proxy conflicts from the sort of Iranian proxy group, which is Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas. The conflicts are all intertwined because it's all proxy, but the direct aims of each of these conflicts is different. So, for example, the returning fire in South Lebanon from Israel was a response to a rocket that landed in Golan Heights, which is a Druze region, technically recognized as a part of Syria, but Israel, I believe, is occupying that area. So, children killed during a soccer game. Israel vowed to get revenge, sent rockets back into Lebanon to attack the Hezbollah leader. The Hezbollah leader is said to still be alive. We have no confirmation of that 100%, but they're claiming he's still alive. And then Israel essentially was retaliating for that one. Now, killing the Hamas leader in Iran is a very different thing. The south of Lebanon, so you guys understand, is Hezbollah has headquarters in South Beirut, very, very, very south. So if you guys can imagine, like the city in your where you guys live, and think about the suburbs around it, and then think about like one more layer outside of that, right outside the suburbs. So that's basically where they were attacking. They didn't attack the city of Beirut itself, but they did attack somewhere close enough to where it kind of spooked a lot of folks. So why is this important? Because I saw that retaliation as more of a show of strength and more of a very targeted and deliberate attack, but it wasn't in a densely populated civilian area. It wasn't during an inaugural event that the whole world was watching. It was on a random day as a retaliation to something that happened the day before. Very straightforward. Killing the Hamas leader in Iran during the inauguration when the whole world is watching. I don't understand why they would do it. And the more I think about it, the less I kind of believe that they would do it. Like, can somebody think of a good idea of why Israel would do that in a time where they're already losing global support? America is losing the ability to cover for Israel, especially during the Gaza conflict. And so you don't really have a lot of legs to stand on. Now you're going to attack the one country that's basically been funding all these proxies, and in that country, and take somebody that they may or may not have liked. So something's not adding up to me, man. 15 million on Maduro's head is crazy. Start World War III. Yeah, well, that's why they would want to do that, is to start World War III. I agree. Um, Members, I'm gonna have to take two trades on this one today because we don't really know which level it's gonna hit. So I'm gonna go trade one, trade two. Okay, so the benefit of taking two is that the R&R is gonna be way better because ideally you'd have to put your SL for the first entry below this one, just in case it does one of these deep dives. Okay. But then you have an R&R of what? 3 to 1. Okay. Now, if you just take it one trade at a time, which is if it goes below this zone, if it breaks below this, then it's going to head to the second entry anyways. So I just want to be out there. So I'll go right below the lowest hanging fruit there. That'll put us at about 5 to 1 instead. So I'll take the first trade. That doesn't work out. I'll take the second trade. And this is a 5 to 1 as well. Make back 5 times whatever you risk. But obviously, if we take partial profits, if we close the trade, at 3 to 1 or 2 to 1 and just take the win, then that is probably what I'll be doing. Okay. All right. Then we delete this. Adjust these levels now. I'm going to keep this bottom level open because I have a feeling that we could still come down here. Maybe not today. I don't even know if we're ever going to see this retracement again after this big pump here, but 18,500, I'll delete the long position tool, but I'll keep that level there because it is a pretty high probability zone. I'm going to do a quick cleanup here just to make sure we got our levels down. One more cleanup. Okay. Beautiful. Any questions on this? It was very straightforward. We're going to talk about Maduro here in a second, but we got to keep an eye on the Hamas situation because look, killing the leader of Hamas in the middle of a conflict or a war, usually not great for I don't know, peace talks. So not good. Reports in Arabic media said that the third Ziyad al-Nakhali was the Secretary General of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, was in the building where Hamaya was killed. Oh, hold up. The Israeli Defense Forces said Fuad Shukr was killed in a Tuesday evening attack, blaming him for the weekend rocket attack in Israel. In Golan Heights, Hezbollah has acknowledged his presence in the demolition. Wait. because this is a new report. Hezbollah has acknowledged the Hezbollah leader was in the demolished building, but said recovery efforts were continuing. See, I don't even know how much I trust those reports. They probably just tell us, oh yeah, he died in the thing, and Buddy just gets to hide under the radar. I don't like that. The deadly events marked the end of two key leaders in Tehran's proxy military groups in the region. Reports in Arabic media said that the third, Ziyad al-Nakhle, was the Secretary General of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, was in the building where Hanaya was killed. Hmm. Secretary General of the Palestinian Jihad. So he's in the political arm of one of these local groups. But he was in the building, but they don't say that if whether he was killed in that building or whether he was just in there. Israel struck Lebanon and Iran in order to set the region on fire, senior Hamas leader said. Adding Hamas and its allies do not want regional war. Okay, well, look, you didn't want regional war. Why the fuck would you do October 7th? Like, what did you think was going to happen? You walk into your neighbor's house, who you already have problems with and Ben had problems with, and like shoot his kid and the dog, and then walk back into your house. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Right? It's like, oh, I mean, we're not gonna, create some problems in the neighborhood. Um, Dude, I saw these dudes beefing in my old neighborhood because we wanted to put up a speed bump, and the HOA guy was like, it's too short. We got to make it high. Like they were beefing over a speed bump. You don't think they would? You don't think you could start a neighborhood battle for something that matters like this? So it's a little bit too late to walk this back. And to be honest, there are different segments of, like I said, there's two different sections of all these groups. There's the political and the military arm. The political arm of Hamas has actually mentioned something about ceasefire in order to return the hostages and kind of walk this thing back. And a lot of the people that keep suggesting that just, I don't know, they end up dead. So you guys can do whatever you want with that info. I love my life, and Biden is great. And I took all the jabs. But Hanaya's killing, he said, sent a clear message that our only option with this enemy is blood and resistance. Okay, well, hold on. We don't want regional war. Okay. The only option is blood and resistance. Now, which one is it? Because I can't have both. Security analysts said that events would push the region closer to a region-wide conflict. Iran compelled to respond. So the reason that you see proxy conflicts happening is because of direct conflict with Iran as a nation. Iran's got a lot of people. I think that their population is almost 100 million, maybe more population of Iran. 88.5 million. That's a lot. Okay. Let's see. How big is Iran's military? 425,000 active duty personnel, 100,000 reserves, and then not to mention the proxies. So going to war with an actual country means that all the allies of Iran and all the allies of the other side have to get involved, and that's what leads to world wars, right? So proxy conflicts allows a country to exercise their foreign policy agenda or their regional agenda without having to directly take responsibility or blame or escalation because they're the ones directly involved. And so that's why we're seeing all these proxies. Israel experts said, hope the risk of escalation will be outweighed by the demonstration of military and intelligence prowess that allowed it to reach deep into Tehran. Okay, see, that's the same thinking that got Hamas fucked up. They were like, okay, well, we can just display military and intelligence prowess by having these tunnel systems and doing this really intelligent exercise in this foreign country in this very coordinated attack that we've been planning for so long. And hopefully that will deter them from escalating because they see that now we're capable. How did that work for Hamas? Basically, they just sacrificed all the Palestinian people for that exercise. And so I don't know. Israel seems to be wanting to sacrifice their folks for this exercise. I don't think it will change the balance of power or the face of war, but it sends a strong signal to Iran and the Axis. Yoel Guzansky, the former official on the Israel's National Security Council, is now a senior fellow at the Institute of National Security Studies in Tel Aviv. It shows them they cannot be safe anywhere, even in Tehran. I think it's Israel getting more reputation for deterrence back. Mm, 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 mm. Dude, this is not looking good. We really have to start backing away from this. Roy, as a Lebanese, do you support Hezbollah? You don't have to answer if you aren't comfortable with it. It's not about comfortable, but it's just not my place to take sides. It's not my place to get involved in support or not support. When I support some, I'll make it very known. If I don't support some, I make it very known. If I'm indifferent about it, because it's just that's the way I see all this stuff. It just is, right? Groups, proxies, regional conflict, territorial disputes have existed since the Bible, and they ain't going away anytime soon. And so the way I look at things is I try to be as pragmatic as possible as a market participant, and I just try to look at things as they are, not as I wish they were. And so, yeah. Now, speaking of Lebanon, by the way, we are doing an event. So we have 1,000-person event in Medellin. If you guys are Colombian or have any friends in Colombia or have family in Colombia, we are coming to bring opportunity. Shout out to the FX Summit. We're partnering up with some great people in that region. We're going to do 1,000-person event in Medellin, and we're going to do another probably 500-person event in Bogota. So if you guys are in Colombia, make sure to come see us. If you're Lebanese, we're going to be doing another 1,000-person event in Lebanon, Karim. So if you have a group, if you got friends, if you know people in markets, start spreading that word. Let them know FX Summit workshops are coming to Lebanon. And instead of doing those 200-person cities, y'all, we're aiming for 1,000 plus now. After this Colombia event, yeah, we're aiming for 1,000 plus in every city we go. We got about 4 weeks to basically put together an incredible show in Colombia, and the country's been so hospitable to us. Shout out to the Colombian government. Shout out to the Bureau of Tourism. They're basically trying to steal. They're trying to steal the FX Summit, the Latin American FX Summit next year from Mexico City, by basically opening their doors and opening their arms. And safe to say, it's working. All right. So Latin Summit next year, Colombia. Keep that in mind. If you're Lebanese, keep that on the radar. Good evening. Is there any way to short the Venezuelan stock market if Maduro is overthrown? All right, George Soros, but calm down. He's like, oh, everyone's dying and eating fucking dirt just to stay alive. Perfect. Let me shit on their currency. Exactly what we should do. Now, again, I said we have to be pragmatic as market participants, but these are things you'd have to line up in advance. So, like this Japanese shift, something I lined up in advance. This reversal on Nasdaq, something I lined up in advance. That's why I was so mad this morning, and I basically just canceled the stream because I had waited a very long time for that correction. And yeah, the reason I mentioned George Soros is he shorted the Thai baht, basically took all his money out of Thailand and crashed the Bank of Thailand, did the same thing with the pound. You only do that when you're in that position, when you've already tried to work with the government to get their shit together. If you're in a corrupt country and you keep telling them, yo, if y'all don't get this stuff together, I'm going to take my money out because all my friends are not going to bring their money here if y'all don't get this corruption under control. And they just refuse to do it, and he sunk the currency. Crazy, right? But I still feel some contention about shorting the US stock market, especially like have you guys ever seen The Big Short? You guys ever seen that part where they're making the money and whatever, and then everyone's just sitting there like depressed? And then looking at them like, bro, why aren't you happy? You just made over $1 billion on this trade. He was like, bro, half of America is about to lose their livelihood. Like, this is real shit. People are gonna like, oh yeah, man, it gets fucked up. The reason that we can't have an inflation crisis, okay, the reason that the only thing worse than a recession is is a hyperinflation is because that's where people either take to the streets, that's where people take their own lives, that's where really, really horrible things happen, and nobody expects it, especially in the West, because in the West, we've kind of gotten too comfortable with the consumerism culture that we have. If God forbid everybody had to actually contend with the debt and everything that's going on, I think it'd weigh too heavy on a lot of people. So, but hey, would I short the Thai bot if they didn't if they refuse to play along, if they refuse to get their shit together? Yeah, the fuck I would. You think I'm leaving my money in there? What? Everyone running on credit out here. That's true. And if we ever have to reckon with that, it's gonna be a bad day. The bastardization of the financial system, I think, is something that we're not really gonna appreciate how bad it is until probably until at least the current guard is gone. Right? Once we have some new faces, we saw this yesterday. The acting deputy director of the Secret Service, he was saying he's going to be a change agent. So he's a new face. He's not here ducking. He's trying to answer questions. They're going to go for accountability and meritocracy again. And I think that we need that culture back in the financial sector of our government, like at least the Treasury, the Fed, and all these different agencies. Because do you guys know, like, when you turn on the news, you go on Twitter, and you just look around every day, and there's something so crazy that you're almost just not fazed by it, because we've gotten so desensitized because of how much actually happens on an annual basis, how much is happening right now in this unique time, and the access to the information that we now have through social media. Everyone's got access. So we've kind of gotten desensitized to how much money has been printed, the risk of this inflation crisis, the risk of the border being wide open, 15 million undocumented folks in the country. We don't understand these risks until like a big thing happens. No one wanted to talk about the risks of the banking sector. Everything was fine. Put your head in the sand until 08 happens, and everything is revealed. All the termites, all the rust, all the shit that's hiding under that hood gets revealed all at once. And so I think America is going to ideally avoid that, because we're going to have so much competitive growth because of AI and the productivity that allows in all of the companies. Because this AI wave right now is not what the future is. It's like the internet. The internet enabled every physical business to just do better, right? Because now you're online and you can push your brand way further. Social media, turn that up a notch, and AI will do that times 100. The productivity of a lot of the companies, they could reduce the size of their teams, so cut costs, but they can improve the productivity, which will allow a lot of these companies to actually be back in business and allow the stock market to continue booming. So there's hope, of course, but if we don't get the national debt under control, if we don't get the interest rates down so that the interest that we're paying on this debt is not eating up our entire budget, if we don't stop overspending on military, we're going to be in so much trouble. And if you're, let's say, between the ages of 16 and 40, let's say 16 and 34, our generations are going to be dealing with this problem. And so there's two ways that you deal with this kind of issue. I'm kind of going a big picture here. The only ways that you deal with a runaway debt issue is you can debase the currency, which means you basically print the shit out of it to make it worthless. You inflate the value of everything, but the debt you owe is still in, like, let's say you owe 100 billion, and then you just keep introducing so much money that like 200 billion is the new 100 billion because of inflation. You still only owe $100 billion that you have to repay to the banks or to yourself. But now you basically cut that value in half. Like, you only had to put up technically half as much value at that time. Because, all right, I hope you guys are keeping up with what I'm saying here. All right, so you can debase the currency, which is kind of what they're doing now. Make the currency so worthless that whatever debt you're holding just gets not inflated away, but debased away. The second option is high tax rates, increase the government revenue, and tell them to stop spending. Okay, now there's anything that we know about governments and people, that people don't like higher taxes, especially not the taxes that will be required for us to actually pull ourselves out of this, which will be about 50 to 70% tax rates, realistically, if we actually want to stay on top of the debt. We can't default on the debt, which is really one of the only options that we have, but that would cause war. That would cause about the worst crisis America's ever seen in its lifetime. So we can never default on the debt. So what do? Keep kicking it down the line. Now, Kamala Harris has this Build Back Better initiative that she's trying to push again. And it didn't work the first time, where you basically Bidenomics, introducing trillions of dollars into an inflation crisis. And I think that Kamala Harris's agenda of spending and continuing to print is only adding to that pile of money that is just growing, and that has that interest rate on it, that we're paying interest on that ever-growing amount. Then we're going to be paying close to $1 trillion in interest payments this year. Okay, by next year, the interest payments will be half of the government budget. So half of the tax receipts, well, a little bit less than half of the tax receipts that we get is going to go straight to um, servicing the debt, not paying it down, just paying the interest so that we don't go broke. And then by 2030, I believe it's going to be bigger than the federal budget. So not good. We need somebody to get in and fix this. So those two options are debase the currency or raise taxes and do it the right way. And people are not going to accept higher taxes, and politicians are not going to get reelected pitching higher taxes. And so that's not going to happen. And expecting politicians to stop spending, it's like sitting on the sun in the morning, trying to stop it from going up. It's the old Jim Rohn line. Okay, good luck with that. Getting politicians to stop lying and stop spending, you might as well just eat glass. You probably have better luck of being satisfied with your life. Okay, set your expectations realistically, people. So they're going to debase the fuck out the currency. So how do we make money? Buy assets that go up with the debasement of the currency. You buy a house, say 10 years ago for 300K and now it's worth 700. Look, unless Ivanka Trump moved in your neighborhood, or unless like all the houses got renovated, that house ain't worth 700K, jumping from 300K. The reality is that the currency has been debased so much that it takes more dollars to buy same house. That's the fucking, and so rich people have always known this because there's a 2% inflation kind of target that the Fed's been reaching for. And so if you hold cash, that's saying cash is trash, you basically lose value. You're losing 2% of your purchasing power every year that you're holding it in there. Now, rich people know buying assets is the way to go. If you have a very high income, you're paying high taxes, and nobody wants to pay high taxes. If you own a lot of assets, and let's say that you have cash flowing assets, you can get capital gains. You can pay short-term capital gains. You can flow through a business or corporation and pay corporate tax. So many different things. I'm not a tax expert. Don't take my advice on any of this stuff. But so the wealthy folks have always bought assets because they know it goes up over time, not because assets go up over time just because they're worth more, but because currencies get debased over time. What we've done over the past 4 years is completely bastardize that system, accelerate that process so fast. 33% of all the dollars in circulation printed in the last 4 years makes 0 sense. We can't, the reason I said the news example earlier about how we're all desensitized, all these things hit us, and we just seem to be desensitized about the scale and the scope of how bad this is, how stupid these decisions have been over the last 4 years. Now, Trump did print a shit ton of money too. Okay, it was a response to COVID. We were not going to fall behind the rest of the world, and we did need to basically like shock the economy back to life. We had to do something. But after inflation started coming down, and after the economy had recovered, unemployment was back to record lows, Biden gets elected, he wants the credit, starts putting in trillions. Bro, why? Like, for what, bro? Sacrificed the whole country just for re-election, and he didn't even fucking make it to the elections. They kicked his ass out quick. Haven't seen him in 4 or 5 days. This is ridiculous. So anyways, that's the big picture of what's happening in the economy. That's going to be a 5 to 10 year thing. Real deal. But it made me feel like shit. You should try to take advantage of the people going down bad. These Middle Eastern conflicts are getting tense, man. They always are, brother. What broker you use? Don't do that. I don't recommend a broker. But I'm a free agent, brother. I don't use no brokers. I don't use nothing. If you guys ever see me use a platform, that is not a recommendation. I will let you know if I recommend a platform from my personal experience. Trust me. And should definitely let you know if I don't recommend a platform from my experience. I will make it abundantly clear. Okay. He says, Roy, as a Lebanese, do you support Hezbollah? Bro, it's 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. Like, chill. Chill, bro. They're trying to put me on the spot, man. I support y'all. I support myself, and I support my team. I support my goals and my missions as the steward and the host of the FX Summit. I support the mission to make that the greatest gathering of traders and investors, business owners, entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, institutional players, inventors, technologists in the world. That's my mission. Who do I support? Support my family. Uh, you know, I support myself because if you don't, who's going to support you, man? If you don't cheer for yourself, who's going to do it for you? Some days in the morning at 10 a.m., I support resistance. I support it all. Trying to back me into a corner. What about long on oil as a proxy play? All right, Ray. You might as well just short Venezuela, bro. You might as well just go over there and then just spit in their face too. That'll probably make you happier on what you trade if you don't use a broker. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to recommend you a broker because number one, that's not my place to do so. Um, and yeah, we don't make brokerage recommendations. That is something that you would have to research on your own. What I will tell you is there's 3 factors that you need to look for to find a good broker. Number 1, jurisdiction. You got to have something that'll let you trade in that region. Reputation. You can go online and check out reviews, not fake reviews. Like don't go on the usual sites. Go on sites that are very critical of these places and look at the negative reviews. See what people are saying. And then number 3 is going to be your goals. So some people want low commissions because they're trading like a lot of size, but they don't really care about the execution as much. For me, I want to prioritize the execution. I'll even pay a little bit higher commissions, but I want to get entered where I want to get entered. And if I have to pay to play, I will. And so it depends on your priorities there in terms of the fee structures. So jurisdiction, reputation, and fee structure. That is how you choose a good platform to trade on. Roy, can you invite some honest prop firms to the summit? So we have Top Step, we got Apex, and we've invited FTMO. There's like 3 conferences happening at the same time, but they're trying to find a rep to bring out to Dubai. So what prop firms would you guys want to see? What companies in general would you guys want to see at the summit? If you could wave a magic wand and just see them there, and you think that it would be a great look for us to have them, list some companies here in the chats. Let's see what you guys are focused on. IC Markets, do you think they're legit? IC Markets is one of the largest, it's one of the largest brokerages in the world, isn't it? Doesn't TradingView hasn't listed IC, right? Yeah, basically, if they're listed on TradingView, I was just talking to the GM of TradingView yesterday, just chopping it up, catching up. Just basically, I use TradingView as my due diligence because I know how seriously they take it. If TradingView will support these brokerages and if they'll list them on the platform and they'll do the due diligence, typically I'll trust them a little bit more than influencers promoting a broker. You know what I'm saying? And so those 3 factors to find a good platform, that jurisdiction, reputation, and obviously fee structure, like your priorities of what fees you want to try to save on, you can find any platform using those. Also, I support, the prop firms I actually think is, to me, the greatest opportunity of our lifetime. Okay, because I was trading for about 3.5 years, call it 3 years, seriously trading for about 1.5 years before prop firms came out, and it's a very, very different game now, especially with Apex and whatever they're doing. Like, I'm not even trying to keep promoting them because I'm trying to keep them in business, man. Keep the show rolling. Alpha Capital, never heard of them. Said, thanks, mate. No problem, Ibrahim. Funded Next. So we're in talks with Funded Next for sure. We're going to do a prop firm panel, but it's probably going to be 2 different panels, one for Forex and then one for futures. I love FTMO, but heard some real issues. They don't tell all the rules clearly. Now, FTMO is single-handedly the best platform of all time. About tears down my face. I have an Apex challenge, Roy. I haven't started it yet, but my goal is 10% monthly. Then I can attend my first FX summit. Well, don't aim for 10% monthly, brother. Aim to trade your system. Okay? Aim to trade your system. And then instead of aiming for the amount of money, aim for, like, limit yourself on the maximum trades that you'll take or the maximum whatever. And then the money will make sense. So, for example, if I tell myself I'm taking 4 trades max this week, and I'm only going to take trades that meet my criteria, obviously. After I hit those 4, I'm walking away. Now, whether I made 4%, 8%, 12%, 17%, I don't want to limit myself on the amount that I'm making, but I do want to protect myself from giving the money back or potentially digging myself in a deeper hole. So Don't aim for the percentage, bro. Aim for just a, you know what? The first role of every trader is to be a risk manager. And so not blowing the money is it should be everyone's first priority. You should approach every account with that mindset, especially now that there's no time limits on most challenges. My number one priority is to never blow this account. Now, if you do that and you keep inching forward, eventually you're going to pass. With some of these other accounts, like let's say the cheaper ones on Apex and stuff, going higher risk and just passing the challenges off a few trades is possible, right? But what kind of habits are you building? Because let's say you pass the challenge off 3, 4 great trades. Now you have the account. And now you're like, well, I'm just going to do what got me to the dance. And then you blow the account because of the max trailing drawdown or whatever. So yeah, don't aim for a money amount. Aim to trade your system. Make sure that you keep your, like, find out what risk you need to put on each trade to make the money you need. And then just play your game. That's all you got to focus on. Capital preservation, period. There we go. No problem. Thank you. And I appreciate the time. Also, Tony, you already know. They just choose who deserves the profit split, even if you did just pass. It's weird. If you're an aggressive scalper, they can stop your request for if your profit split and they'll tell you no clear explanation. Now, they always have a pretty clear explanation. If they have the consistency rule, Ibrahim, which means that your trades have to be within a certain standard deviation of each other. So if you're used to doing a bunch of small orders and then you YOLO on one trade, 100 lots, and you make like 50 grand, they don't feel like they get like these companies aren't really putting money behind people, but like they what they say is we can't put money behind someone who trades like this because the one trade that you don't win is going to blow the whole fund. And so what they do is they try to basically penalize you for it. They are pretty lenient because like if you break the rules genuinely, even if the rules are hidden or obscure, you guys gotta read them. You're a trader. As a trader and as an adult, you have to be responsible for your own decisions. So we can't say I didn't know the rules. Now, if the rules were not there, and then they're just making shit up, like some of the prop firms going out of business last year, they were making up new rules on the spot, or they were just denying people's payouts with actual zero explanation. And that is, we saw the worst of that. We saw what it looks like when, So, that's my thoughts on gold. Gold pumped after that trade from yesterday. Told you guys about that head and shoulders. Gold flew. Super secret magnet indicator does not miss. 24.32, I told you, was that next target. And then, of course, we're going back to 24.50, which is the magnet zone. We'll just go ahead and move this magnet over here. Easy as pie. So I think we're going to see a retracement here off the double top and then a continuation probably during this news release. All right, so we covered some very important topics. We covered the senior leader of Hamas killed in Iran, escalation of conflict. We talked about the senior leader of Hezbollah reportedly killed, but I talked to some sources in Lebanon, family members and such that are in police forces. They have not identified 100% that he was in that rubble, right? Hezbollah is claiming that he was, but two senior leaders of the two biggest proxy sort of groups in the Middle East killed within a span of a day. Israel's taking credit for one, not the other, but they're sort of implying it in their local newspapers. So we have to basically keep an eye out for the escalation here. When the world is this chaotic, people just tend to go hungry, hungry hippo. Okay, you'll tend to see world governments, institutions, like financial institutions, corporations, military groups, everyone's trying to grab a piece of the pie when it's all back out on the table. And so you see Maduro in Venezuela, that country is in shambles. Now it's up for the taking. Is it the armed forces and going to support the citizens and the protesters? Or the armed forces going to support Maduro and kind of lock down the country? And then is the CIA going to tip their finger on the scale? Like, these things are shifting so fast, and so you're going to see tons of reactions on markets, politics, war, escalation. That's why we got to keep an eye on this stuff. All right, dollar is back at support. We might break through today, honestly. We might break down, but we'll see. All right. We covered all that. NASDAQ will be looking to come back and go long on this retest. All right. Hold your horses. We'll be back in about 30 minutes, y'all. Come back for the stream. Make sure you have your notifications turned on. Hit like and subscribe on this, because then the algo is more likely to recommend you the stream at 2 when we get on. All right. NQ and ES hit first entries. No, not yet. I had an early alert just for when it starts retracing. I'm actually going to set another alert here at right under that daily resistance because it's pretty close to the entry price. But I want a heads up. I want to have plenty of time in advance. And then we'll do one at stop loss. So if it just breaks right through, we have that alert. Consistency rule. I was looking into the Venezuelan thing and the army is disbanding and joining the citizens. Good. Yo, here's the biggest boss. Fucking Milei statement on Venezuela. This dude is, I'm telling y'all, man, if socialists take this shit too far, you're gonna have populists take over your country. And people don't like Milei, but he is a reaction to whenever a society goes too socialist. And he's just spitting all the time. Now, I don't know 100% about this dude. He's a little shady to me still, but when you need a revolution in your country, you can't play nice. And Milei is willing to die for his shit. Venezuelans chose to end the communist dictatorship of Nicolas Maduro. Venezuelans chose to end the communist dictatorship. So calling your next door neighbor a communist dictator and then basically acknowledging to the whole world that the Venezuelans, the people, have made their decision, say fuck him too, and then calls him out by name. Argentina will not recognize another fraud election. Fucking bouse. Like, imagine if other countries did that. They're like, yeah, bro, ain't no way Biden got 81 million votes. No, I love Biden and the Clintons, and I got all the jabs, all the boosters, and I love drag shows, all of it. All right, but yeah, 81 million votes. Ain't nobody want to stand up and be like, yeah, that shit did not happen, right? But so shout out to Milei. I think this is actually where I first started to realize that the election was getting stolen in real time, was when Milei made the statement. And then there was a second piece of the statement where he said he urges the armed forces. Chilean president said the Maduro regime. Yo, stop it, bro. Yo, son. Yo, Forbes is insufferable, bro. How many? This looks like SoundCloud. This looks like fucking LimeWire right now, bro. Leave me alone. Okay, Venezuelan Authority. Maduro called his win a triumph of peace and stability. Yeah, okay. Speaking to reporters in Tokyo, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. Okay, let's see what Tony said. We have serious concerns the result announced does not reflect the will of the voters. And he urged the country's authorities to share detailed information with the opposition and independent observers. Okay, what the fuck? Who cares about what Marco Rubio said? Chilean President Gabriel Boric said, the Maduro regime must understand that the results it's published are hard to believe. International observers who are not committed to the government should verify the results. So everyone's calling cap. Venezuelans chose to end the communist regime, will not recognize another fraud. Yo, where's the second half? He basically said all the armed forces should join with the people and to restore order to your country. Do the right thing. A powerful message coming from somebody who is putting themselves on the line and can actually potentially be a leader to folks. When you have a communist dictator, let me show you what communism looks like. Okay, they say that everyone's going to have access to everything. You'll have access to healthcare, you'll have access to school, and that's the ideal. Now, the truth is, everyone's human, right? And so you give like a sociopath who's going to make it to the top of the ranks in a very, very, what do I say, dangerous country. You give him the power to basically distribute the resources. You guys know what happened? They just started going into Maduro's stockpiles and found all medications, food, stockpiles of stuff that was apparently what they were doing was creating artificial scarcity so that the citizenry can be dependent on the government. Okay, that's why what's happening in America is so dangerous, is because we're headed in that direction. You essentially create false scarcity by owning all the resources, and then you just tell people, you can't have this month, can't have this that month. We just can't afford this. Not good. Okay, so we'll see how this goes. I think this one might be a bit messier than the Middle East situation, because the Middle East is messier in terms of understanding it. But in terms of the negotiations and stuff, no one wants an all-out regional conflict because that's World War III. And so I think everybody from around the world is calling into every diplomat that they know, every ambassador, and just saying, like, what happened? Who is responsible? Where is the escalation going to go? And starting to make steps towards de-escalation, towards ceasefire, and potentially walking back some of the the temperature Dialed the temperature down compared to where it's been. All right. Okay, grab your tickets to the FX Summit 2023 or 2024 conference. And then if you guys want to trade NASDAQ, you guys want to learn how to make money and how we're catching all these trades, make sure to check out the NAS 100 Masterclass. Link is in the description. And there's a promotional code somewhere in the live comments here, FOMC 30. FOMC 30. If you guys want 30% off any of the masterclass, or the masterclass or any of the tickets. Okay, I know I said 50 earlier. It's actually 30. I just read it. So they're desperate as vote. They're going to switch the voting system in America, in some states to manual voting. If it doesn't happen on a national level, it doesn't matter. The states are where the corruption happens. It's like any state that's on your side, or any state that's, I don't want to say it's like corruption. It's like incompetence. And so if I was gonna rig, oh fuck me, dude, I'm about to get canceled. If I was gonna rig an election, I'm not going to states that have a very strict oversight of their electoral process. I'm going to the shadiest places that don't really give a fuck, and I can, like, oh, some voting machine stopped working. It's like, well, nothing works in the state, so it's not even a surprise. That's what I feel like is happening. But what the hell do I know? I'm just a guy. Like, the concept of rigging an election is absolutely ludicrous to the point where we can't even talk about it, because it's just unimaginable that any foreign power would ever actually want to, influence the result of an election to get one person in versus somebody else. That is unimaginable to all of us, right? And so that's why we can't talk about the election security in America, because everything is perfect, right? Motherfuckers think we're stupid. All right, y'all. Good to see you. See you at 2 p.m. I know it's in like 20 minutes. I'm going to go reset, grab some food, and I'll be back in 20. All right, peace. All right, we got a good number of folks watching. Not bad. 488 views. That's the